Hello, everybody. Welcome, and thanks for joining us. I'm going to start with this is strictly for entertainment and educational purposes only. And we will today be doing 1777 and the excerpts from the journals of the Continental Congress. And something was brought up earlier about the discussion that wasn't on the recording. What has been brought forth here has a lot to do with the comprehension that many of the things that we believe and we stand on, such as the Declaration of Independence and said constitutions and things of such, these styles, okay? These are styles. These are what we have proven are what they use to cross these barriers of jurisdiction. We have brought forth that the Declaration of Independence is a style. Article 1 of the Articles of Confederation spells out clearly the style of the Confederation, be the United States. So a lot of these things that we were going through earlier that need to be put in a context of what we're learning now and what we've been taught. And so a lot of these things are going to be a bit contradictory. And this is why this stuff needs to be brought forward, because it is up to us to have our own discernment. And as I said, and as anybody else will tell you, please go research. And it doesn't mean to go use ChatGPT, okay? Because anybody who sits and it's funny, and so if you ever read somebody who, I don't know, throws a copy and paste something from ChatGPT, it's almost blatantly obvious it was written by an AI.
If you're going to use ChatGPT, always ask it a second question. And the second question should be, hey, ChatGPT, are you lying? I thought the facts were this.
Absolutely.
And ChatGPT will literally apologize to you and say it's lying.
Well, did you know if you told ChatGPT that 2 plus 2 is 22, and you created a bot algorithm and told ChatGPT 3 trillion times that 2 plus 2 is 22, ChatGPT would actually think, hey, 2 plus 2 is 4, 62% of the time. That's the truth of it. It's only as smart as what you tell it. So, just food for thought, folks. Know where we are, know where we stand, and know some of the things that we're supposed to be standing on. Where did they come from? Where did the Declaration of Independence come from? Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? Who authorized the Declaration of Independence? Who sent the delegates to author and adopt said Articles of Confederation, to author and adopt said Declaration of Independence? So, these are things that need to be examined when you talk about our actual history. So, no more stories, people. No more stories. The summary of 1777. We're on page 29. Yes, Johnny. Okay. January 1st, 1777. Number 1, Scribe's Note. Reconvened Congress in Baltimore. January 3rd, 1777. Number 1, the credentials. 4, reappointment for the delegates from Connecticut is authorized at the General Assembly of the Governor and the Company of the State of Connecticut in America. January 14, 1777. Number 1, resolved that all bills of credit admitted by the authority of Congress ought to be passed. Ought to pass current in all payments, trade dealings in these states will be deemed in equal value to the same normal sum in Spanish milled dollars, and that whosoever shall offer, ask, or receive more in the said bill for any gold or silver, coin, bullion, or other species of money whatsoever, that the nominal sum of the amount thereof in Spanish milled dollars or more in the said bill for any lands, houses, goods, or commodities whatsoever, then the same could be purchased at the same of the same person or persons in gold or silver or any other species of money whatsoever shall offer to sell any goods or commodities for gold or silver coins or any other species of money whatsoever, and refuse to sell the same for the said continental bills, every such person ought to be deemed an enemy to the liberties of these United States, and to forfeit the value of the money so exchanged, or house, land, or commodity so sold or offered to sale. And it be recommended to the legislature of the respective states to enact laws inflicting such forfeitures and other penalties on offenders as aforesaid, and will prevent such pernicious practices. That it be recommended to the legislatures of the United States to pass laws to make the bills of credit issued by Congress a lawful tender in payment of public and private debts, that debts payable in sterling money be discharged with continental dollars at the rate of 4 to 6 sterling per dollar. It's weird, 2/3. Discharge of debts, continental, that discharge of all debts and contracts, continental dollars pass at the rate fixed by the respective states for the value of Spanish milled dollars. Hey, Nino.
Yeah.
So, doesn't that sound not all that good?
It sounds like they're changing the laws, or it sounds like they're updating the laws to change the money system.
Yeah, but what's with this forfeiture shit?
Well, it sounds
enacting laws to inflicting such forfeitures and other penalties on offenders as foresaid will prevent such pernicious practices. What are you extorting here, folks? Well, and for the said Spanish milled dollar. Oh. That it be recommended to legislatures of the United States to pass bills of credit issued by Congress, a lawful tendered in payment of public and private debts, that debts payable in sterling money be discharged with continental dollars at a rate of 4.6 sterling per dollar. So the debt is discharged at 2/3 of the dollar? Discharge all other debts and contracts, continental dollars passed at the fixed rate by the respective states for the value of Spanish milled dollar. Number 2, resolved that it be recommended that the legislatures of the several United States pass a resolution that they will make provisions for drawing in and sinking their respective quotas of the bills admitted by Congress at their respective quotas of the bills admitted by Congress at the several periods fixed or shall be fixed by Congress. That it be recommended that the legislatures of the several states to raise by taxation in the course of the current year and remit to the Treasury such sums of money as they shall think to be most proper in the present situation of inhabitants, which sums shall be carried to their credit and accounted for in the settlement of their proportion of the public expense and debts for the United States are jointly bound. I will note that is United States in lowercase united and upper lowercase states. February 25 of 1777, number 1, the Committee for Revising the Regulations of the Post Office report that the Postmaster General should be directed forthwith to appoint 2 surveyors of the post, one to proceed immediately from Philadelphia northward, and the other southward, to carry effectually into execution the following regulations. That the grand line of the post to the northward extend from Philadelphia to Easton, and from Easton to Fishkill, and from Fishkill to Hartford, and from Hartford to Boston, and from Boston to Portsmouth, and from Portsmouth to Fallsmouth. The grand line to the post southward extends from Philadelphia to Annapolis, and from Annapolis to Williamsburg, Virginia, and from Williamsburg to Halifax in North Carolina, and from Halifax to Wilmington, and from Wilmington to Charleston, South Carolina, and from Charleston to Savannah in Georgia. February 27, 1777. Number 1, resolve that when Congress adjourns this evening, it will adjourn to meet in Philadelphia on Wednesday next. Funny it says that, but the next entry is March 22nd. March 22nd of 1777, number 1, resolved that the Secretary's office be forthwith established and constantly kept in or near the State House or building where Congress shall, from time to time, hold its session, and that the Secretary, Deputy Secretary, and clerks, before entering upon their office, shall severally take an oath to be administered by the President, well and faithfully to execute the trust reposed in them, in their judgment, and to disclose no matter the knowledge of which shall be acquired in consequence of such office. That they shall be directed to keep secret also the oath prescribed for officers of the Army, and passed by Congress on the 21st day of October, 1776, and that certificates thereof be given by the President and lodged with the Secretary. That such of the journals and papers of Congress are secret by their nature. My. All for the public good. That, let's say that again. That such of the journals and papers of Congress as are secret by their nature, to be kept by the Secretary and communicated to none. Wow. Unless particular order. But members of Congress and Deputy Secretary and all others be kept and filed in the office aforesaid. April 1 of 1777. Number 1, resolved that no officer already appointed or be appointed in the Army of the United States shall take the rank by virtue of commission and antedated, but the rank shall be determined by the time of appointment, unless otherwise directed by a special resolution of Congress. What's that mean? You're not allowed to give cronies generals, make them generals?
And just remember, when we're seeing this highlighted at the very first page or two of this document, they're highlighting in yellow what's important, and green, they didn't really say very important, but they said also important. So that was interesting. I don't know if they came back later and added the green. It's kind of weird. And then pink was treason.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. Our founding forefathers, there's some questionable stuff going on here. So, yeah, let's move on. April 8th of 1777. Resolved, number 1, resolved that 5 persons be appointed by Congress to constitute a Board of War and Ordnance, any 3 of whom be a quorum, and that the secretary and clerks of the office be appointed. Scribes note, more de jure offices created by Congress with competent salaries to assist the said boards in executing the businesses of their department. That before any member shall take his seat at the said board, he shall take and subscribe the oath of qualification, and also a following oath and a certificate, whereof shall be filed in said office. Boy, I think we should have oaths of offices for assembly members, huh? Lawful persons that we have delegated said authority to. You know, without an oath of office, you have no authority. Does everybody know that? Does everybody know that any person, lawful or legal, claiming authority over you as a living man or woman, they need to provide you with an oath of office? So, anybody in any meetings claiming authority over you?
Well, the reality here, too, is even if they have an oath of office, they don't have authority.
True. But the whole point of it, Nino, is
the oath of office makes them your public servant. You are the authority. The oath of office makes them your servant.
Agreed. But without liability, there is no authority. So,
correct.
He needs to prove his authority.
Where does accountability and liability come from? That comes from impeachment and the bonds.
So, that's where this all comes back down to. Those that want to claim authority have to have an oath of office. Kind of like the judge, you know. So, when you catch somebody doing stupid stuff and opening their big mouth about things they don't have any authority on, that's what you do to them. So, moving on. I, A.B., do solemnly swear that I will not directly or indirectly divulge any matter or thing which shall come to my knowledge as a member of the Board of War or Ordnance of the United States, and without leave of Congress or the Board, and that I shall faithfully execute my said office according to the best skill or judgment. That before the Secretary and clerks of the said board shall enter their office shall respectively take and subscribe the oath of qualification and following oath, a certificate whereof shall be filed in said office. And I, A.B., do solemnly swear that I will not directly or indirectly divulge any matter or thing which shall come to my knowledge secretary or clerk of the board, that I will faithfully execute my said office according to the best of my skill and judgment, so help me. And that the said board be authorized to hire suitable apartments and provide books, papers, and necessities at the continental expense for carrying on business of the said office. We got all that taken care of. April 17th, 1777. Number 1. Resolved that the style of the committee of the secret correspondence be altered, and that for the future be styled the Committee of Foreign Affairs. Style and styles, huh? May 1, 1777. Number 1, resolved that the Congress will never continuance or support any continental officer in violating the laws of any state or treating its magistrate with contempt. Huh. Is that a jurisdiction thing? May 12th. 1777. Number 1, resolved that all postmasters, postriders, and persons immediately concerned in conducting business of the post office ought to be exempt from all military duties, and it be recommended to the legislature of the different states to exempt such persons accordingly. My. What do we have here? June 14th, 1777, which we have brought forward and we have mentioned. Number 1, resolved the flag of the 13 United States be 13 stripes, alternate red and white. That the Union be 13 stars, white. I say this again. The Union be 13 stars, white, in a blue field. I'm going to repeat that one more damn time. White. The stars, white. You hear that? In a blue field. Representing a new constellation. Resolved. Okay? This is resolved, folks. We're going to discuss this a little bit later when we finish up this year. So let's move on. June 30th of 1777, number 1, the report from the committee and on the whole, Congress was read and agreed to as follows. Resolved that the Congress is composed of delegates chosen by and representing communities, respectively, inhabiting territories of New Hampshire, Massachusetts Bay, Rhode Island, Providence Plantation, Massachusetts Bay, and Rhode Island and Providence Plantation. 13 colonies, huh? Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, as they are respectively stood at the time of the first institution. That it was instituted for the purpose of securing and defending the communities aforesaid in the usurpation, oppression, and hostile invasion of Great Britain. And that, therefore, it cannot be intended that Congress, by any of its proceedings, would do or recommend the continuance of any injurious to the right and jurisdiction of several communities which it represents. July 17th of 1777, ordered that the letter be sent to its executive powers of the states that are not represented in Congress, informing them that the consideration of the states and several other important matters are put off for want of full representation of all the states. My, full representation to make you fully dead, I guess. And that it be earnestly recommended to them. You see that? Earnestly recommended. To send sufficient numbers of members to, again, here we go, represent them as soon as possible. Boy, do you see what's flying, folks? Do you see what's flying? August 19th of 1777, number one, it is resolved that the Congress will, on all occasions, discontinuance and punish any indecent behavior of officers or officers in the Continental Service towards civil authority of the several states. Back to that, What was that Civil War all about? Civil authority? Huh? Civil War, civil authority? Ha ha. 13 stars? Maybe. August 26th of 1777. Number one, resolved that if any member chooses to have ayes or nays taken upon any question, he shall move for the same previous to Mr. President taking the sense of the House on such question. The individual member, Nina's favorite word, individual, ends in the word dual. So, the individual member of each state shall be called upon to answer a or no to the question, which shall be entered into the journal, and the question be determined by the majority of the states and the majority of the votes, as each shall make appear. What do we have here but the solidification of democracy? Is that what's going on here, folks? Ayes and nays, yeas and noes, and that each member of each state, one vote? Proportional representation, huh? One voice for the many, huh? Out of many, one? Yeah, okay. Somebody's selling you a pile of shit. August 28th of 1777, number one, resolved that when a state is unrepresented in Congress and the yeas and nays are called for the opinion of the members of the state unrepresented, shall be called for and entered on the journals, the names of such members being distinguished by an asterisk. That makes it all legit. September 14th of 1777, resolved that the Congress shall be obliged to remove from Philadelphia, and Lancaster shall be the place which Lancaster shall be the place at which they shall meet. October 1st of 1777, number 1, ordered that until further order, Congress shall meet precisely at 10 o'clock a.m., sit 1, and then adjourn till 4 p.m., then meet and proceed on business. October 7th of 1777, number 1, resolved that the treaty made by Benjamin Franklin and Silius Dine at Paris on the 17th day of February in 1777 with the Chevalier de Pontel, and my French is terrible, and others will be confirmed and ratified as far as it relates to Mos de la Moy. October 14th of 1777, number 1, the Congress resumed the considerations of the 9 Articles of Confederation and the amendment moved yesterday, viz., that the proportion of the public expense incurred by the United States for their common defense incurred and general welfare be paid by each state into the Treasury, be ascertained by the value of all lands within each state granted to or surveyed for any person, any such lands, and the buildings and improvements thereon shall be estimated according to such mode as Congress shall from time to time direct and appoint. My, what are we setting up for ourselves here? Scribe's note, final vote, tally 5 A's, 2 divs, 2 noes, and 2 noes with 1 vote and not 2. November 15th of 1777. A copy of the Confederation being made out and sundry small amendments made in the dictation without altering the sense. The same was agreed to as followed. The Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union. Now, I'm going to put this nonsense to bed. The Articles of Confederation is a style. The Perpetual Union is an actual union. It's an actual thing. It's not an action. The union is perpetual. The union represents the living. The Articles of Confederation is the style. So how does the living get to be the lawful? Now, this is where I'm going to contradict the scribe. Scribe says Article 1, style means name. We all know for a fact style does not mean name. Those that are versed in the comprehension of jurisdiction knows exactly what style means. Now, Article 11, the second copy, is a marginal caption. Admission of Canada and other states to the Union. Now, why does it not say Canada and other states to the what? Articles of Confederation who what? The Articles of Confederation created the style of the United States. So why isn't it not? And it's the Union instead. And we're talking about Canada here too. So you can see somebody's fooling somebody. November 17th of 1777. Number one, the committee appointed to arrange the Articles of Confederation and prepare a circular letter to accompany it into several states brought with the following draft. In Congress at Yorktown, 17 November 1777, Congress, having agreed upon a plan of confederacy for securing the freedom, sovereignty, and independence of the United States. Authentic copies are now transmitted for the consideration of respective legislatures. This business hardly is. Permit us then earnestly to recommend these articles to the immediate and dispassionate attention of the legislature of the respective states. Let them be candidly reviewed under a sense of difficulty by combining one general system of various sentiments and interests, and a continent divided into so many sovereigns and independent communities. Wow. Under a conviction of the absolute necessity of uniting all of our counsels and all of our strengths to maintain and defend our common liberty. Wow. There's your bag of soggy donuts, folks. Right there, folks. We have more than, in short, this salutary measure that can no longer be deferred. It seems too essential to our very existence as free people. And without it, oh yeah, definitely without it, we may soon constrain to bide adieu to independence, to liberty, to safety, to blessing from which justice from our cause and favor of our almighty Creator visibly manifested in our protection. We have reason to expect that if in our humble dependence of His divine providence we strenuously exert the means which are placed in our power. To conclude, the legislature of any state shall not be assembled. Congress recommends it to be executive authority to convene without delay, and each respective legislature is to recommend to invest its delegates with its competent power, ultimately in the name and behalf of the states, to subscribe Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union of the United States. And the Perpetual Union of the United States. The Union of Stars they might be talking about? That union of white stars sitting on a blue field? Is that the damn union they're talking about? Or is this some perpetual union between the land and the soil? Ha ha. I'm sorry. The Kool-Aid's gotten warm. November 22nd. Oh, wait, I missed something here. To conclude, if any legislature of the state shall not be assembled, Congress recommends that its executive authority to convene without delay to each respective legislature. It is recommended to invest in its delegates with competent power, ultimately powers ultimately in the name and behalf of the states to subscribe Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union of the States of the United States and to attend Congress for the purpose on or before the day blah blah blah. The blanks were voted and filled in the 10th and March next. April, oh good Lord. November 22nd, 1777. Number 1, resolved that all proposals for treaty between the King of Great Britain and any of his commissioners and the United States of America, inconsistent with their independence of said states, and or with such treaties or alliances as may be formed under their authority, will be rejected by Congress. November 28th of 1777, number 1 is resolved that whenever any expedition which may be undertaken either by sea, land, or order, or the expense of the United States shall fail in its execution, or whenever any important post, fortress, fort or fortress garrisoned and defended at the expense of the United States shall be evacuated or taken by the enemy, it is established rule in Congress to institute an inquiry into the cause of the failure of such expedition or loss of such post, fort, or fortress, and into the conduct of the principal officer or officers' conduction of expeditions due failing or commanding the post, fort, or fortress so evacuated or taken by the enemy. The inquiry is so instituted to be conducted in such a manner as Congress shall deem best adapted for the investigation of truth in respective cases. Alrighty, 1777. Wow. That was quite a year. That's quite a year, folks. So, we are going to talk about something that was brought up in this 1777 thing. And let us roll back to June 14th. Okay? What did we go on about yesterday? Or, I'm sorry, Friday. What did we drone on about? Well, Penny, do you have did you have that website I sent you for the Clan of Buchanan? The official site for the clan hosted by the Clan Buchanan Society International?
I don't have it up anymore on my computer for some reason.
Okay, it's the glossary of heraldic terms. I'm going to put this in the chat, and how about we do that? And we're going to take a look at this, people. Okay. Paste that up there. All right, folks. You guys, or girls and peoples, go over to there and check that out. There we go. Penny, you could talk so they can see your screen. There you go.
Is it not sharing?
No, I don't know if that'll go on, but okay. But all right, let's roll down, Pen. Okay, what do we got here? Now, as we see here, okay, this describes what you're seeing in family crests and coats of arms and how they work. Okay, this is real. This is not BS. Not about, oh, my family shield. Yeah. Okay. Now, when you talk about a family shield, there's two sides to it. One's called the Dexter side. One's called the Sinister side. Why is it called Sinister? Why is it called Dexter? Why are things called? What does it mean when somebody's ambidextrous? Well, what do you mean by you're sinister? What? That's opposite the right? So you're what? Instead of being right, you're sinister? Sinister means the left side. Dexter means the right side. So, Dexter Chief would be the left side, or the right side, I'm sorry, facing the actual family crest, if you're wearing the crest or wearing the shield. So the Dexter would be top, if you're facing it, left corner, right? Facing it, the Dexter base, the bottom of the right side. Then you have these you have the sinister chief on one side and the sinister base. So now you get to see how these things are laid out. Okay? Now, if you roll down, there's a whole bunch of things that have definitions. Now, I want you to run down to the cap to the word A. Now, in A, under the second definition, there's a word called argent. Does anybody know what argent means? Because it says right there. Did you know argent means silver? My. Did we know that, people? So that red and white stripe is actually a silver and red stripe. Or silver, yeah, instead of being white. Azure means blue.
I'm starting to think that the Italians wrote the Articles of Confederation.
Maybe. Maybe. Okay, so let us move down the line here. And it shows you a little things about crowns. And when you see a certain crown on a coat of arms and what these crowns mean, what these certain symbols mean. So, finds very interesting stuff. You know? So, now, look at what we have under H. The helmets, the helms. Who's at the helm? The sovereign facing forward. The duke and the esquires facing left. But a knight faces forward. So let's move on down. Mantling. Then you have mottos. Ah, there we go, mottos. Okay. Now, let's go to the word. Let's go to G. G. At the very bottom of the definition of G, there's a word called ghouls. I don't know if it's ghouls, rules, ghouls, but it means red. So, ardent and ghouls. Ardent and ghouls, people. By definition, ardent and ghouls. And then you can look down and it shows you a bunch of these crests, sinister, these definitions of where they are, how they work. Okay? But what's really interesting is the idea. Now, let's go to my not exactly my favorite, but where is this at? Oh, good Lord. Wikipedia. Hey, Penny, did I send that to you from Wikipedia? I thought I sent that to you yesterday. Hold on, let me see if I have this for you. Okay. Yeah, variations of the field. Okay, hold on. I got it. All right, I got it. Okay. This, I'm going to put it in the chat.
Okay.
I'll put it in the chat. All righty. All right. I'm getting better at this. I actually tried the other day. I just realized how much of a fail I am at doing this. Okay. In the chat and paste that. There we go. All right. Now, everybody go there and take a look at that, and I will tell you what's going on with this nonsense. Okay. All righty. All right. We are called patterning with ordinary and subordinaries. Okay, this is all heraldic stuff. Now, when you see a shield, pally, argent, and guiles, you get it, folks? You see that standing stripe? That's exactly what that's called. I don't want to hear any crap. Okay? It's a pally, argent, and guiles. Rebut it. Now, the shield to the right. Barry of 10 argents and guiles. Does that look familiar, folks? Does it? That Barry? That pally? And then what? Slap on that stars in that blue constellation. And what do we got, folks? So do feel free to run through these patternings and where they come from. Okay? Where these coats of arms come from. So, but yeah, guys, go ahead, and girls, go ahead, take a look. You know, Wikipedia isn't exactly the best source of information, but stuff like this isn't, they're not lying to you about it. There's nothing to lie about here. It is what it is. So when you go and you look at these symbolisms, you say, there you go. That's a pally. That's a Barry. Really? A Barry? Uh-huh. Yeah, it's a Barry. So who doesn't know what? Argent and guiles, folks. What's argent?
Argento,
Argento, baby. Yeah. Okay. You can't escape the Latin. So, moving on. Moving on. Jeez. So, so is there any other things that you find to be what? Are very important in this year? I mean, the fact that the Continental Congress spells out the perpetual union. We're not in a perpetual union. A perpetual union is a thing. Okay? It's the union. It's the actual union they're talking about. The union that's in perpetual union. What? Is the United States in a perpetual union? How are you in a perpetual union with something that's dead? How is a living man in a perpetual union? How is a lawful person in a perpetual union with the living man or woman? How does that work?
Well, what's perpetual? Perpetual is never ending or changing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what is perpetual out there?
The union of the states, the union of the soil.
No,
that's what's perpetual.
No, it can't be, because everything's changing.
Not the jurisdiction. The jurisdiction doesn't change.
Well, let's think about what perpetual unions identified back in the day. It was these 13 states, United States. These 13 United States.
These 13 United States, and it spells out quite clearly with a union. And the union. Yes. And, not in, and.
Okay.
Which makes it separate entity. It's something separate.
Yes.
It's not in. It's and.
Okay. But where I'm going with this is, by using the word perpetual, what are they describing with that word?
They're describing the union of the counties in perpetual union. It's the county, the entity of the union.
My point here is very simple. If the definition of perpetual means never ending or changing, what is never ending or changing in this world?
The union of the soil.
But didn't the union of the soil change from 13 states to 15 states?
No, the union of the soil changed by
200 counties.
No, the soil, here's the thing. You had to use the style to change it, didn't you? So what did you use? What style did you use to bring yourself to that jurisdiction? That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, if you claim to be in this jurisdiction, how did you get here? Because you're a living man or woman. All right, let's go with this bound, unbound crap. Okay, how did you get here? How did they get here from the Articles of Confederation?
Through fraud.
That's right. So that style, right, regardless of whatever style they used, it was still fraud. You get what I'm saying? None of this stuff.
Oh, I comprehend that. I just don't like the word perpetual, because perpetual is defined as never ending.
I agree, but I didn't write. They're the ones that wrote that in there. They wrote that in there.
So what does that tell you? What they wrote was never supposed to change or end. And what did they do? They created the new Constitution without repealing the old one.
Exactly. Well, that's why I keep saying none of this is valid.
So anything that changed from this perpetual word, right, when it was identified in the description, is null and void, because perpetual means never ending or changing. So if you're saying this is never ending or changing, and then here we are sitting in 2025 with statutes and codes, what have we done? We've ended something and we've changed it. We've done both things that perpetual means the opposite of. Perpetual to me is never ending or changing. So in reality, the perpetual union is never ending or changing.
Yeah, but what they're trying to confuse is that they're trying to confuse that the union is a union between the two, and it's not. The union is a separate entity.
Yeah,
the union does not represent lawful people.
Yes, the union can only be about people. Like things. Like things can only be in a union together.
Well, that's
100%.
the whole. This is why this is an oxymoron. This whole nonsense about slapping the sovereign citizen banner. That's what it is. It quite clearly spells out what the stars are. Quite clearly spells it out. We just showed you what those bars mean. Okay? I want to hear this crap about, it's standing on soil and it's standing. No. It's a Barry or it's a Pally, right? Why? Because one stands one way and one stands the other way. There's a technical definition for that. But, other people will tell you stories. All right? Well, I don't buy stories. You need to give me some proof. Where does this say this stuff? Oh, yeah, red and white stripes. The fuck it is. Just try silver and red. How about Arden Giles? Huh? No, it's red and white. No, it's not. So, go ahead and tell me it's red and white stripes. Because I just told you otherwise. I just proved otherwise. So, bring some rebuttals here. Stop blowing smoke. Telling me about things that are standing. Standing your stripes. Yeah. Whose coat of arms? Okay, D.C. is supposed to be run by Scottish Masons, aren't they? If it's supposed to be run by Scottish Masons, I'm pretty damn sure they're to the letter of their customs and their traditions and their symbolism. All about their symbolism. So, and all this stuff is blatantly right here in front of us. So, a lot of this stuff makes it very, I don't know, a question of our beliefs. Questions of what we know and what we believe. So. Anyway, so where are we at? 12:18. So, anybody got any comments? Wow. Well, if nobody's got any comments, how am I going to drone on?
Just trying to take it all in. Big stuff.
Well, Trust me. I mean, we've been like thrown into the washer and put in the spin cycle like on repeat. And when we're so dizzy with dumb shit, I mean, you have people that claim to know what they're talking about. You have people blind leading the blind. And no one's questioning it. Nobody's questioning what we are believing. Telling you people, the Kool-Aid's getting warm. It really is. So when you are forced to rebut, and you're forced to rebut it, I get shit all day long. People say that I'm wrong. Oh, yeah? Prove it. Oh, okay, I'm wrong. Rebut it. You can copy and paste. Show me where it's wrong. Credit your source, please. Don't sit there and tell me, oh, ChatGPT told me you're wrong. Yeah, okay. Oh, the National Archives. Oh, yeah. Huh. You know, yes, they may have what you call selective history in there. Boy, penny in that flag. Penny, penny, penny in that flag. Hey, I'm sorry, but it says right there. Says right there. How come that's being hidden from everyone? Everybody on this call should be wondering, why is this missing? Huh? Where is this? Why is it missing? Who took this off? Now that civil peace flag. That's interesting. Hey, folks, is that a Barry or a Pally? What is that? Yeah, what is it? Barry? Pally. What is it? Yeah. It's a Barry, huh? Oh, wait, that's a Pally. Oh, okay. Red and white stripes, huh? Gotcha. Why don't you sell me some more bullshit? Seriously, sell me some more bullshit. I would love another bag of soggy donuts. Okay? You want some credibility. Okay? You want some credibility, honestly? Well, blue stars. Blue stars, guys. Show me in any document stating the United States or the United States of America where it says blue stars. Blue stars.
Wait, it says blue stars or blue field?
It says blue field.
Okay.
There are no blue stars, brother.
There's no blue stars.
None.
Yeah.
None.
It's a blue field, and how does it describe the stars?
White.
White. Okay. And are you saying the white is still white for the stars?
No, white's supposed to be white is supposed to stand on a flag. It's supposed to stand for argent. So anything that claims to be white is supposed to be argent. So that would be a silver star.
Okay.
Yeah. Funny things, these things that you think are real. Because if that's actually a silver star, wow, that actually sounds more legit. I would rather see my stars.
Why wasn't gold? My question is, why wasn't gold incorporated into the flag?
Because, honestly, do you know, I was always taught, because I went to school for banking, and I was always taught that the reason why America was such a threat was because of the silver here. We have more silver than there is gold on the fucking planet. And it's all here. It's like we can buy every fucking ounce of gold on the planet 10 times over with the amount of silver we have. So why in God's creation would you back any of your money in gold? Like, you want to fix the world, people? Very simple. Very simple. Pay attention, folks. Give me back my fucking silver dollar. Done. All of this is over. Give me back my fucking silver dollar, and we go about our business. How hard is that? Oh, I'm going to give you some fucking prepaid bogus fucking whatever fucking credit. Why? Because you deserve it. You think so? Well, what the fuck are you smoking if you think you deserve this? Oh, because they stole all this shit from me. Blah, blah, blah. Well, as many of us have figured out, that your unlimited credit comes from your signature. Is it really some unlimited credit that some savior is giving you?
Well, the unlimited credit is because it's not backed by anything and they're just printing it. So if you can just print something that's not backed by anything, yes, it's unlimited as long as you got enough paper and ink.
Just fake. It's just as fake as the words. What happens if you just said, hey guys, everything that we work for, you go to the bank, and instead of giving you stupid money, they gave you silver dollars? From day one, tomorrow, you went to the bank. Here you go. Here's my paycheck for $250. Here you go. Here's 250 ounces of gold or silver or $250 silver certificate, which has to be returned on demand from the bank. All there is to it.
All right, so everybody take their currency, go to the bank.
But that's what has to happen. You want this to stop, then you go to the bank and say, give me back my damn silver dollar. This shit's nonsense. Oh, cryptocurrencies. Oh, ha, 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 ha. Hey, everybody, what happened in 1929? What happened in 1929, folks? What happened in 1829, folks? Same fucking stock crash in 1829? Huh? How about that? You didn't fucking think of that, did you? Why? Are we just a bunch of fucking suckers? What's going to happen in 2029? Agenda 2030. How are they going to rob you of your wealth?
Electric. It's electric.
That's great. Cryptocurrency. Ha ha. Hey, man. My cryptocurrency is now backed by gold. Ha ha. Yeah, okay. Right. Okay? Kool-Aid's getting warm, folks. You better figure it out because the Kool-Aid is most definitely warm. Think about it this way.
That Kool-Aid's starting to sound good warm now. I'm not going to lie. It's starting to sound like hot apple cider. Where you sit around a campfire and tell stories.
Yeah, exactly. This is what we have in front of us, people. And we have all this stuff going on, and you need to get your brain into some form of discernment. Okay? We're at 1777. We just finished 1777. And the whole world is already... You've already been sold into slavery. You've already been incorporated. You've already been all by your forefathers. These same guys.
Yep. And what were they doing? They were making legal determinations about you without your consent.
Representing you.
And what do you have the right to do when anybody makes any kind of determination about you? Whether it's a financial determination, legal determination, lawful determination, political determination. What can you do if somebody makes the determination about you without your consent? You can fire them.
Yeah, I pull a Nino and say, I'm fired.
You're fired, buddy. Who else wants to get fired here?
Well, maybe that's what we should start doing. Somebody needs to get fired.
It appears to me you're making legal determinations about me without my consent. You're fired. Oh, you can't fire me? Well, then you can't represent me, have power of attorney over me, or my estate. So, sayonara. What are you doing here? You're not a party to anything.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's uncomfortable. The things you get in bed with.
Correct. This is a struggle for people. This is a struggle for the majority. This is a struggle to basically say, hey, if we got 250 people and 125 of them say, hey, you're fired, we've got some authority.
You guys we're all starting to realize how this American experiment has been nothing but a free-for-all for fraud. Who could sell the soggiest bag of donuts, man? And the worst part about this is this is the birth of our country, and it's only going to get worse. And sometimes it makes you wonder what was the point of this experiment? Was the experiment actually an experiment, or was it actually meant to? Was it the vehicle of enslavement, or is that the vehicle by which they gained representation? Remember, they did the same thing in England, right? Did the same thing to England. What did happen with this English Civil War? You think? You know, the English actually had their sovereignty for a short minute. They had their little experiment. Well, our experiment's still going on, people. I said it last week. Our experiment is still going on. Whether we want to be part of it, an active part of it, do you want to be a catalyst? Can you affect this experiment? Are you part of this experiment? Are we relevant to this experiment 250 some odd years later?
Oh, yeah.
What's that? Is all this stuff relevant to us now in our lives? Is it important for us to have these freedoms anymore? You know, this life that we live, these things that we do every day, is this stuff any necessary for our lives anymore? Can we just dismiss this, discount this? Go ahead, guys. We don't care. You're going to put me under this Constitution? Guys, girls, you can't put anybody under these constitutions, period. None. They're not valid. None of them. Right here. Says right here. You go, I invite anybody to show me where they repealed these articles. Because if they repealed the article, there'd be no Declaration of Independence. There would be no United States. There'd be none of this shit. None of this rah, rah, rah. All these people that died for that flag. Died for this country. For what? So you can tell them that that wasn't real. That we sold you a pile of shit. Is that what you want to tell them? Or do you want to tell them that, hey, we are Americans. This is our experiment. This is our journey. Not our independence, our freedom. Are we in dependence? Are we? Are we independence? As in we in it. Are you in your dependency? What are you fucking dependent on? Maybe we should ask ourselves, what are you dependent on? Because it says right there what style that depends on. Ha ha. How many educated, literate members of the general public could comprehend any of this? How many of these farmers, these men of the earth, these men that work with their hands, building things, creating things, what, this was all directed to these men? The man who's making, these cabinets, the man who's building this barn, the man that's raising these cattle, all these men, women, do they know what style? Okay, so they can steal their representation, so they can steal their voice, so they can claim collective representation for the betterment of the whole? Give up your rights, please. Give up your rights, please. Makes things very clear. Back to style. Yeah, these bar attorneys, these men under the Title and Nobilities Act. Title and Nobilities Act. Making silly penmanship and spelling mistakes. You know, back then they used to write with quills. Dip it with ink. Yeah, dip it with ink and write it. Everything is very deliberate. Very thought out, isn't it? So those spelling mistakes were also quite thought out. If you were an educated person and you sat and you read that, what would you think? Is this deliberate? Why would you write that? This is to be distributed among the states, among the counties. How many of these literate men and women? How many of them could read and write? See, people don't think about these things, but it's the absolute truth. You know, back in the day, you were living on the farm. What's more important? To feed the chickens, milk the cows, fetch the water, chop the firewood? Or what? Learn to read and write. Okay? Learn to read and write. Well, what's more important? Survival? Sometimes we just need to put things in perspective. You have to realize how many people actually could read and write back then. And when you don't have that, you have to understand that if this is true, then why are they doing this? Give me 1 second. Sorry, I actually have to actually try to do some work, but not a big deal. So does anybody have anything to say about this? Or are you just so everybody is in such shock that we don't, like, there's nothing to be said? There's
Man,
Yeah, go ahead.
it sounds like we're just back to square one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't hear that at all. It was breaking up really bad.
He said we're back to square one. We really are back to square one. There's so many unsubstantiated claims. Go ahead.
Well, so is what we're saying, I mean, that's all that matters. That's all we need to do, right? You know, any title, any capitalization, any flag, any credential is to join with something lesser or more narrowed, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's not the whole of who you are.
exactly. You need to step down from your own rights. It's the truth of it. And some people, I was talking to one of my friends who goes on these dates, cyber dates or whatever dates. And she was describing a situation by which they had beaten a driving ticket, and doing it with our process. And the person retorted that you were in the wrong. That he retorted that she was in the wrong. That you should have a driver's license. And if you were driving and you killed somebody, then you should be responsible. And this is the logic that's being purported. You're wrong. Because you're breaking the rules. Well, needless to say, I wouldn't be dating that person. But that is what you're looking at, because you're immediately faced with the whole judgmental arena. Everybody's very ready to judge you past their standard upon you. Your standard of brainwashing, I guess. But that's what we're looking at, people. We're looking at a complete lack of comprehension based upon repeated conditioning with ignorance. That's all it is. You're repeatedly beat down with ignorance. Just like people around you that purport things that are not true. This is going to happen a lot. Because what you don't see is, you don't see the people actually coming back to rebut. Because if you actually do rebut, then people will tend to what? Take you as a threat? You're a threat because you purport the truth. If you're a threat because you purport the truth, then you're actually doing a good thing. If somebody wants to silence you, what? Then make your claims public. The easiest way to silence me is say, hey, Euge, you're embarrassingly wrong. Ha ha. That'll shut you up in a hurry, won't it? So, go ahead. Hey, tell me I'm wrong. Right? I just proved it to you. Tell me I'm wrong about the Argent and Giles. Tell me I'm wrong about the Barry and the Pally. Tell me I'm wrong. Okay. This is why these things needs to be said. Okay? You think you know? You think you want to say this crap? Rebut it.
Yeah.
Hang on one second. I got my jail buddy here. Go ahead.
I was just going to say what.
Are you there, Ronnie?
Yes. I thought you told me to wait.
Oh no, he said go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, with every experiment, the American experiment comes some trial and error, right? So we've identified a lot of mistakes or flaws. So it might be the most relevant time in history, actually. So we can correct those and get us on some solid foundation and get these issues corrected and moving forward. It's like them enabling acts I mentioned the other day. It's like we bring forward everything that's good and right and build on it and leave the crap in the past. Or that's the way I kind of interpreted the enabling acts. It's like you bring everything good forward and revise everything else. So it kind of seems to me like it's the most relevant time in history to get things corrected and move forward. Maybe.
I agree. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that seriously needs to be corrected. I mean, seriously. and those that are not willing to address this properly you need to wonder why. You can't build something that's based upon fraud. No. Fraud vitiates everything.
Yep.
So if fraud vitiates everything, these are questions that are very difficult that we need to come to grips with.
Absolutely. I thought the fraud started when we at some point in time when they incorporated us against our will or without our consent, but it goes all the way back to 1777. That's a real eye opener.
Yeah, it does. Goes back to before they even had a constitution. Right? Mm-hmm. Goes back to the damn Declaration of Independence.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks.
So that being said, moving forward, it's a great time in history, actually, since we've identified these things to correct them and move forward on our established freedoms, maybe.
Oh, agreed. I have no problem with that. But you do realize you have certain persons that, I don't know, may be more advantageous to maintain said farce.
We've corrected our statuses, so we're on the right path.
I'm not talking about I'm talking about those that are among us. Yeah. Because there are others that stand among us, don't they? There are those that stand among us that purport things that are unsubstantiated. We as living men and women Okay? We don't purport things that are unsubstantiated. I'm sorry. That's unacceptable. As living men and women, it would behoove us to make those decisions, to make those objections. We don't object as a lawful person, do we? My. Because somebody wants you to tell you that you should, I don't know, give up your unalienable right. Is that what we all want to do? Are we all going to give up our unalienable right?
Nope. Don't sound like we want to do that, does it?
No. And when you talk about an assembly, can you have an assembly of men? I mean, the answer to that should be pretty easy, right? The answer is yes.
Yes.
Can men assemble? We have the right to assemble.
Certainly.
I mean, if we want to go over the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal, right? So we're talking about men here. We're not talking about persons. We're not talking about lawful persons. We're not talking about legal persons. We're talking about men. Now, you're telling me men can't assemble? The only way men can assemble is if we turn into persons?
Nino, what's with the damn ballot points? What the hell's wrong with you, man?
I'm just throwing it out there. If you guys have to realize that the horse shit that we're hearing, right, is essentially saying, oh, in order for us to assemble, we have to give up some of our sovereignty. Fuck that. Nobody wants to give up their sovereignty. So if we're all on the same page, can we all assemble and say no?
One way to say it would be, it just came to me, is we're substantive. We are fully substantive. There might be another word for substantive that'd be even better to flesh it out, but you know what I'm saying? If you're fully substantive, if that's the basis for everything, doesn't that put everything into perspective?
Yeah, what do you mean by substantive?
Well, substance. We're there. Because it's as if the system says, well, you're not qualified, and that you're put in the child's position all the time. Always some way to dilute. There might be a better word for that too, but to dilute who you are. That you're not fully capable. You're not fully present. You're not.
Correct. Oh no, I completely agree. So this whole point of representation is literally to take the power away from the men and the women, right, and to allow the representative to make decisions for you. But that's not where I want to go with this. Where I want to go with this is, yeah, we can assemble as men, and we don't need anybody to represent us. We need to give our spokesman the information we want him to say. And if we can't find a truthful spokesman to say what we want him to say or her to say, then we might as well just hire a robot that can speak what we write. At least we know then the robot's going to be assembled with an algorithm that gives it the laws that it requires to follow, which is you can't make up your own bullshit. You can't put words in your own sentence unless it comes from the people. So, I mean, at this point, I'm okay with AI. As long as I give this fucking machine a piece of paper and it reads what I want it to say.
Oh.
The problem we have here is we're giving our authority to one or two representatives who then think they have the authority to make decisions for us, which is not the case. It's never been the case. That's why the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution of 1787 were such a controversy, because they weren't supposed to go there to create a new constitution. They were supposed to go there to update the Articles of Confederation. But what did they do? They took the authority into their own hands.
Right there, Nino. You settled the whole thing right there. They were never supposed to replace it. They were supposed to fix it.
Correct.
They were never authorized.
So now how do we hold our representatives accountable? What's the answer
no
to
different,
that?
Nino. It's no different now. What they're doing, what they did back then, what these people are doing now in Congress. No different.
Yeah, it's always the same skit, and they just keep playing it over and over and over again. And as long as nobody transfers the knowledge, the same mistake continues to happen. And that's why they consider us insane, because we keep making the same mistakes over and over again. And if we're all insane, they obviously have this verbiage to say, hey, you're an infant in the eyes of the court for a reason.
Yep, I agree. I totally agree. I mean, any questions?
Well, it's 12:01, so we could just wrap up for the day.
All righty.
I'll go ahead and stop the recording.
Okay.